The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com.
All right, thanks everybody for joining us here on another special interview here on Buckle Bump Entertainment. With me all the way from the UK today, we have announcer, commentator, Karl Robinson. Karl, how are you?
Not too bad. I mean, announcer, commentator, general manager, just all round everybody.
How does it feel to be the one getting introduced instead of doing the introducing?
Well, it's weird as well because, funny enough, a few years back I used to do interviews as well, so it's weird being on this side now.
So tell us a little bit, how you got started, how you got involved with, getting into ring announcing, commentating, managing, how you got started into the business just overall.
It was a strange one, to be fair. Like, growing up, I was actually into boxing. I'm not sure how I got into boxing, but it was one thing I wanted to take part in. That didn't work out. I always loved wrestling since then. And I was like, hang on. I found out there's a school in the area by me. That chopped and changed multiple times, but that's due to myself. And then, lo and behold, I found Kamikaze Pro, who I'm with now. Started training with them. My body basically was like, you can't wrestle. You're a beaten man. And then, lo and behold, over time, started to go more to shows, get involved in every different aspect, social media, trying to do backstage interviews, anything I could just get my hands on doing. And then, we started our secondary brand, which is basically like our NXT, to put it, our development. And then the ring announce from that took a step back, and I was kind of thrust into it. So it became like, here you go, here's a mic, learn how to do the job. And I feel it's a big learning experience, but
for sure. Tell us, what your first experience was like, doing the first interview at a show compared to how far you've come.
First time announcing, again, I mean, there was two different times realistically. So one was, I'm not sure if kind of, over in the UK, we got like these small festivals that basically they run sort of, I guess in America it's similar. You have them in local towns, and I think OVW showed it recently where you got a local festival and then you put a wrestling show on. So out of that, we come out the back of a van, and then lo and behold, I was just the ring announcer for that, which wasn't too bad. Bit daunting because it was my hometown, and then I carried on training, and then thrust onto the first show, and it was like, what do I say? How do I say this? Messing up people's names as you expect. And now I think because I've been branching out a bit more, I start to feel more comfortable with myself. And even like recently, we've had a joke from years ago backstage that I looked like a bus driver because I wore a red tie. And then lo and behold, I went outside to the crowd and went, I'm your host, general manager, ring announcer, and bus driver. And everyone laughed.
That's great. Connecting with the crowd is certainly a big part of it. You see a lot of today's announcers, in WWE, you got Samantha Irvin, and then Justin in AEW. They just, if you ever attend one of the live events, they're connecting with the crowd off camera. And big part of the business, I think, that's not really recognized.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. It's like, again, our most recent show, I literally went out there because I've been branched out elsewhere now, and I've started to learn what works with different crowds. I went out and I was like, right, who's here for the first time? Got a big cheer. I was like, right, welcome to the show. Enjoy yourself. These are the rules. Are you going to boo me now? And then as soon as I said you're going to boo me, everyone started to boo me.
Well, I mean, you asked for it.
Well, that's, as you say, though, it's interaction. So I was like, you're going to boo me because I've got to go through the rules, but here's the rules. And you hate me.
So I see you do a lot of work with Kamikaze Wrestling. Tell us a little bit about that promotion.
Yeah, so Kamikaze Pro, they've been around since around 2013. In 2014, they started to develop the training school. It's moved all around, but now we're more in a permanent fixture in Birmingham. And it's just probably one of the best places I've ever been. Like, I've trained other places, and it didn't feel like a family, a community. Whereas Kamikaze Pro now, I mean, we've just had an open session today. We've had new trainees, and everyone just feels welcome and part of a group. And even those on the first day, they kind of probably might feel a little bit intimidated, but then you start to break down those barriers, make them all laugh, have a good time. And it just feels more homely rather than... I get there's the professional side in a sense, and people want to push themselves, but ultimately you also want to feel comfortable.
Right. And someone like yourself who went through the initial training, you know what it's like to be there for the first time, so you can relate to the newer talent coming in, to hopefully ease them up a little bit.
100%. And again, I mean, the fun one today was we was trying to teach them a bit like how to run the ropes, hit the buckles and things after all the rolls and that. And then I jumped in because one of our trainees that's actually on shows now, because he was helping guide them. He basically was like, okay, sent me off, hit the buckle, and then obviously selling. And it was like, well, I'm not sure if he's actually hurt. I was like, that's good because you believe me selling.
Selling 101.
Yep, 100%.
So let's talk about UK wrestling a little bit. Most of our fan base is here in the US. What differences can you say UK wrestling has, versus what most people will see here on like WWE or AEW or Impact?
I mean, the biggest difference, it's always reiterated when you hear British wrestlers talk about it as well. And you see when obviously it comes to generally the night after WrestleMania, you tend to get that British crowd who've travelled all the way over there. And there's the takeover, as they say, by the British crowd. It's that football sort of style chants and all that. And it just feels like there's more to it. And then, yeah, I mean, other than that, I think the crowd now, all crowds are starting to interact more with the talents, and obviously social media is a big aspect of that.
Oh yeah, for sure. How do you feel seeing, like with NXT, where they got the British Heritage Cup matches? How does it feel seeing those kind of matches start to gain popularity and get some TV time?
I think it's good. It's just one of those. It depends on what style you're into. Like, it's not my cup of tea, I'll admit that, but it also then, because people like to say about, obviously everyone knows more or less nowadays wrestling's predetermined, but then to see that sort of reigns like boxing and UFC, it feels more of a competition. Like, you've got to do these things in a certain time limit, and it's just how it was back in the day, basically.
It's nice to see, a little bit of change, something to mix it up a little bit too.
100%. And then again, like we say, the fact you get to see like Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, these guys who've actually come through Kamikaze Pro as well.
That's great. I didn't even know that. I know they're from the area, when NXT UK was around. In my opinion, was probably the most underrated wrestling show that wasn't getting talked about as much. Yeah. But to see a lot of those guys that came from there that are now big stars, it's wonderful.
Definitely. And again, I mean, I know we called him Butch nowadays because of TV, but Pete Dunne was actually one of the first trainers of Kamikaze Pro Dojo, and to learn under his tutelage was actually quite a valuable experience.
That's great. And to see the success he's having is wonderful as well.
Definitely. And if I can try and hijack the back of it.
I certainly hope they do follow through. Talk about doing like a rebranding to like an NXT Europe. I think that would be wonderful and bring in a whole new world of talent.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the whole development plan Triple H had in the past, and the worldwide sort of NXTs all over. It'd be good if there was some sort of training facilities more for over here and in Europe and Australia, because the amount of talent that get over there. I mean, Grayson Waller, obviously, he's a big one right now. It seems the Australians are being pushed, whereas the British are being pushed aside.
There's rumors of, WWE doing something in Japan soon. Hopefully, we'll see what they do there.
Yep.
What can you say? I think some people know some of the big promotions out there. You got Progress, Wrestling Carnival, Rev Pro, I think is one of the other big ones. what can you say? Who are the big stars right now? If someone wants to learn about more of the British or UK wrestling, who are some of the big stars they should be looking out for?
One of the biggest ones at the minute, he's literally, Wrestle Carnival champion, Kamikaze Pro champion. He's wrestled for Progress all over. Man like DeReese, he's actually a product of the Kamikaze Pro dojo. He come through, wrestled for the likes of Fight Club Pro. It's just blowing up all over the country, all over the world, actually. I think he's, in November, he's back over in GCW.
Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of fans of GCW over here, so they'll be familiar with him.
And then the likes of, again, Leon Slater, he's a tag team partner. Lana Austin, if you want a female heat magnet, Lana Austin is your perfect one, especially with her Lana Roki.
What about some of the up-and-coming stars?
It's specifically for the promotion I'm with. There's the likes of George Lydon, Nate Riley, Edgar Adams, and Maximus Okoro. Maybe Ronnie G as well. He's just starting to break out. Those 5 guys, they're probably there at the moment, but in a few years they're going to be there.
What do you like doing best between all the different hats you wear, between the ring announcing and the commentating? What do you find the most enjoyable?
Initially, I wasn't a fan of being a ring announcer. I think it was just one of those. I felt like I was not forced into it, but like there you are, you're the ring announcer now, and it just felt uncomfortable. I didn't feel myself. And then, as I say, I've started to get more into it now, going to the likes of PEW, Phenomenal Elite Wrestling, Stratford-upon-Avon, Shakespeare's birthplace of all places too. But hosting for them, and more recently, the day before All In, I did one in, I'm going to probably butcher the place where it is, Southport in the UK, sort of Liverpool sort of area, called the Kingdom of Wrestling. And again, it was that much of a lively crowd. While there was technical issues, me trying to shout over them, which I've done at shows before, just wasn't possible. They were that loud. And I was like, I've got to work this somehow.
Have you ever gone to a show as a fan and watched, the commentary team or the ring announcer and thinking, I would have done it this way, or that's an interesting way of doing it? Do you sit there and critique, whether negative or positive, how people are doing it?
I wouldn't say a critique. I've more recently, again, I've not attended a lot of shows recently. I don't drive myself, but the Wrestle Carnival in Coventry, it's kind of one of the shows I just love going to and enjoying, sitting back. Of course, they've got Impact coming to that same venue soon. So to be able to hear Tom Campbell, who just was recently announced from Cultaholic, to hear how he does the announcing and gets the crowd interacted, it's one of those things I'll just try and, like you say, pick up those little quirks of, maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll try that.
Yeah. Always good to kind of, see different things and see what works, what doesn't work. Is there anybody, commentary-wise or ring announcing or managing that you take a look and say, I would love to mold my style after them or take, bits from them?
Announcing, it's a mix of, obviously, the 2 Buffer brothers, Michael and Bruce. They're just the top of any sort of ring announcing for me. So UFC and boxing. Justin Roberts, I do like how he does, but then the number one for, just wrestling ring announcing overall for me is Howard Finkel. Looking back how he does the job. We'll go back and watch that CM Punk as his personal ring announcer, but and laugh at that. But it's just one of those. It was his feel-good moments, and yeah, it's for those. I say for announcing that those are the main ones. Commentary, it's more. I think it's just listening to all types, and because for myself, I kind of get to work as the play-by-play, but also because it's a hard one for me to say. I'm not too familiar with moves sometimes, and especially if people haven't gave them names, I'm like, oh, what did he hit? What was that? So I kind of try and be a bit more colour, and again, just learning like how to play along the stories. Because with Kamikaze, with the shows I do, we kind of bring in some of the trainees sometimes to, after they've had a match, right, you'll join me on commentary, and then basically they're generally calling the moves. I'm trying to piece together the stories that were happening. But as it goes for managing, I've not actually fully managed yet, but there's only one guy to look up to currently, and he's at the top.
If you ever got to make up any moves on the fly, while you're commentating, just say what it is, act like that's what it's called, and as long as you sound confident, fans won't know any better, and they'll just have to roll with it.
I think it's the guys watching back the matches themselves and being like, I didn't hit that. And I'll be like, well, that's what I thought it was.
Excalibur, I'm pretty sure that's what he does have to just make up a names like, I've never seen that, so I guess that's what it is.
Yeah, I guess if I make it sound Mexican, then it sounds good enough.
Right? When you're working the shows, do the guys backstage, do they accept the ring announcers and commentators as, one of the guys, or is it all, separate?
Again, because I've been with Kamikaze for so long, it just feels like a family atmosphere backstage. So there's times I'll now be like, is this what you want me to announce you as? Because I've already done it before, so it's, do you want me to confirm this is what it is? If they want to change, I'll quickly change. When I more recently went to those other shows, and I felt a bit intimidated at first because it's stepping out of my comfort zone, and then everyone's more welcoming, like, oh, don't be nervous, all this. And I think my favourite thing is I've said, if I'm not nervous, I shouldn't be here, because walking out in front of a crowd, I feel like I need to be nervous to get that energy of like, this is it, it's a big moment.
Mm-hmm. People there, for night entertainment, and you got to help deliver that entertainment. It's a big 100%. Moment for someone, for sure. All right. Well, that'll do it mostly. We do have one little game segment we like to do with all our interviewees at the end of the show. I call it the electric chair. Just kind of like 6 rapid fire questions, some wrestling related, some not. So just give it your best shot here.
Okay.
First thing that comes to mind. What's one country you'd love to work a promotion for, even for one night only?
Oh, that is a good question. Definitely would have to be in America. I mean, more recently, I've actually kind of become friends with Buzzsaw Samuels because I've heard about his story, actually developed some merchandise for him. So to be able to go over to like Texas and work for the likes of Booker T's promotion, Reality of Wrestling, just basically get out there and experience. I mean, the Monster Factory too, watching all their series on Apple. I feel like I need to go to the Monster Factory and be like, I want to showcase myself.
Yeah, there's definitely some big stars come out of there, and Reality for Booker T. Yeah. Question 2. What is the must-have road trip snack?
Ooh. I mean, go-to drink is definitely a White Monster, because I don't think any British wrestler can live without a can of Monster. Go-to snack, I'm not too sure. I mean, for us, because we have obviously services on the motorway, stop off and grab myself a quick KFC maybe, but...
Okay. Who deserves to be a world champion that hasn't been a world champion yet? Any promotion?
Ooh. These are hard questions. Who deserves?
That's the way we like it here, the hard thinking.
It's a hard one with the term deserves, but I mean, for me, I definitely would like to see Butch, as it is Pete Dunne.
Yes. Being backstage, wrestling being a world of, great ribs or pranks. What's one of the greatest ribs or pranks that you got to witness?
I don't think I've ever actually seen any.
All right. Steak or seafood? What's your preference?
Not a big seafood fan, so definitely steak.
Okay. Last question, who is the one performer you'd love to see front row?
Is this sitting front row or?
Sit in front row just as a fan.
Oh. I think Charles Crowley. Charles Crowley right now, he's just... Because he's got an acting background, he's really great to see, and he can tell stories. He gets you invested, makes you feel something, which is obviously a big thing with wrestling.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to be on the watch out for him, Charles Crowley. All right, Karl, thank you for joining us. Where can people find more on you, and what do you have coming up that you'd like to promote?
I've just got to quickly check. So at the Karl Robinson on Twitter, and I think it's at that Karl Robinson on Instagram. Not to confuse people. Kayfabe Karl actually on YouTube, of which I've got one video currently, but I'm trying to get more. And yeah, again, Kamikaze Pro UK. It's the promotion I'm with the most, and we got a show coming up October 13th. So it's kind of Halloween themed, not kind of Halloween themed, if that makes sense. But
Sure, yeah.
we got that, and that's my main next one coming up.
All right. We'll throw some links in the description for the videos. Karl, thanks again for joining us.
No worries. It's great joining.
Thank you. All right. And I'll have the video up probably Friday morning.
That sounds good.
All right. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.